I see it as a great loss to the community because St. Henry's is really an old church. I mean, back in the 1800s, and I really have a reverence for antiquity. And I think, that it should be preserved, because there's a history in St. Henry's like no other parish in uptown New Orleans. And we need to preserve this as our heritage to pass down to future generations. And one of the other things I think, is why would you close down a church that's economically viable, is self-supporting? It just doesn't make common sense. But I can see the argument on the other side of the Archdiocese where there's not enough priests to service many of the churches because the populations have dwindled since Hurricane Katrina. And there were so many so many churches within the same geographical jurisdiction. Like you have the Blessed Sacrament Church, St. Stephen's, Lady of Good Counsel, and St. Henry's, and geographically, they're very close together. I know historically these parishes were born about because of ethnic and racial segregation. And, but since, that is all past, really have a beautiful assemblage of people who have their heritage entrenched in St. Henry's or Blessed Sacrament, and we don't want to go.
Well, the city of New Orleans has obviously been through a lot of trauma, a lot of traumatic incidents recently, and what we're seeing is that combined with challenges the church on a local, national, and global level are facing, stemming a lot from the shortage of priests, a challenge in getting young men and women to enter into a life of vocation to the priesthood and religious life, plus other challenges of the church becoming a lot less urban and much more suburban in nature. All of those factors are combining to make it necessary for the Archdiocese to make some really tough decisions about how we manage church here in the area. For a very long time, New Orleans, with its very strong Catholic tradition, has been able to maintain many or small parishes in close proximity to each other. And because we are now facing these challenges that people all over the country and Western world for sure are facing, it became necessary for us to make decisions and implement a plan that would reconfigure the Archdiocese for the greater good of the entire 8-parish area.
I understand that we've got a decline in the number of priests in the Archdiocese. That's true all over the country. We have a decline in the population because of just an aging population. Baby boomers are getting older, baby boomers are retiring. I mean, we are losing a lot of the workforce that has existed for years, and the church is no different. So I agree there is a decline, but as far as a shortage, let me share with you some numbers from the Archdiocese newspaper, the Clarion Herald. Back in July 26, 2008, the Archdiocese published a financial report. It really was more of a report about Katrina losses and the effect of Katrina. But on page 8 of that report, they also published priest statistics from 1950 to 2008. And in 2008, they said that they had 136 diocesan priests, of which 11 of them were engaged in ministries other than parish ministry. So that leaves 125 diocesan priests available for parish ministry. They also have 129 religious order priests. And of those 129 religious order priests, 46 of them actually worked in parish ministries. So if you add those two numbers together, the 125 and the 46, you're at 171 priests. Now, the Archdiocese also has talked about that they'll be losing more priests. Just like all of our communities across the country, we expect to see more people retired and more people in that age bracket in the next 5 and 10 years. Well, the Archdiocese has stated that in the next 5 years, they may lose up to 18 priests. So if we take that into account and subtract that from the 171 priests, we're down to 153 priests that will be available to serve parish communities in the Archdiocese of New Orleans. The other statistic that's here on this page from the Clarion Herald, which is the Archdiocese newspaper, as I said before, is the number of churches and missions that are actually open. And in 2008, prior to the plan, it states that there are 137 parishes, of which only 116 were active. Those others were the ones that were damaged in the storm and never reopened. So you have 116 active churches and 5 missions. You add those two together, you get to 121. If you have 153 priests 5 years from now, if they suffer the attrition, 153 should be sufficient to meet the needs of 121 sites. So I still don't understand why they keep repeating that there's a priest shortage. Is there a decline? Absolutely. But it doesn't sound like a shortage to me.
We have 171 active diocesan priests currently. That is a fact, that is the truth. We do know that that number is going to decrease by at least 12 in the next 5 years. So we know, and we are losing priests as, unfortunately, unexpectedly to unexpected deaths of active priests who were active pastors, and we've had 2 unexpected deaths this past year and 3 the year before that. So we have to be almost proactive in how we consolidate our ministry. And plus, there are other assignments that priests have to maintain for the spiritual and pastoral needs of the Archdiocese. We have to have a full-time rector at the cathedral. Not at the cathedral. We have to have a full-time rector at Notre Dame Seminary. We have to have spiritual advisors that are available for our seminarians and for others. And those kinds of responsibilities do not allow for a priest to be a full-time pastor or be an appropriate pastor and serve in those other ministries. There's not really a minimum number or any sort of, I suppose, formula to how many priests are necessary to serve parishes. But what we do have to be very concerned about as far as we're assigning priests, that we have priests that are able to be pastors, that have enough business sense as well as pastoral sense to be able to manage a parish on their own. Many without parochial vicars at this time, because again, we are looking at shortages. And then again, that we have enough priests available in larger parishes that can serve the sacramental needs of the people. When you have a parish that is 3,000 families, that adds up to almost 17,000 people, one priest cannot be expected to supply the sacramental needs for all those people, or be available for the sacramental needs for all those people in a true Catholic tradition.